Right, good afternoon. I'm going to call to order this regular meeting of the Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management Committee. Meeting today is August the 6th, 2014. I am Councilmember Bluong Yang, Chair of this committee. With me today are Council Members Reich, Gordon, and Council President Johnson. We have a number of items on the agenda, but I wanted to take a moment to say something maybe a little bit off script. I know today was Officer Scott Patrick's funeral, and sometimes we don't stop and think about the amazing people who do work for the service of the public. And in this situation, I wanted to take a moment of silence to recognize Officer Patrick and his family. So if we may. Okay. Our police officers do amazing work all across the state, and sometimes we forget about that, and it's really important to, take a step back and remember that Officer Patrick did great work for the city of Mendota Heights, and it was a tragic incident that happened about a week back, and today, most of our agenda items are related to our police department, and our police administration are there at the funeral. And so the folks who are representing the Minneapolis PD today, they're going to do their best to give us the information, but I want to recognize that our police administration is at the funeral. And so, we're going to go with this meeting and just be mindful of the things that are happening around us. So for our meeting today, we have 5 items, of which one has been postponed to the next meeting. 2 items on the consent agenda. One is regarding DNA analysts. Second is regarding the first 48. The third and the one that's going to be postponed is regarding conducted energy device taser bid. The fourth is law enforcement services in neighborhoods adjacent to TCF Bank Stadium related to the Vikings. And the fifth item is police department staffing and response times report. And so talk about the first 2 items really quickly. The first item is to authorize a joint powers agreement with the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension not to exceed $714,000 for police department to support 4 DNA analysts to work on MPD cases, and this will be referred to the Ways and Means Committee. The second item is to authorize a contract agreement with the first 48 television documentary series producers for Minneapolis Police Department to be highlighted in their TV series episodes. Council members, any questions? Yeah. President Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious on the DNA analysis, if we explored at all working with the Sheriff's Department or compared costs using BCA versus our Hennepin County Sheriff, travel times, timeliness of service, all that sort of thing in this mix.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Madam President. We did look at it. Costing was really not an issue in this case because we're getting the analysts at cost, and all the costs within the various crime labs are within a fairly small percentage. Because the rest of our DNA analysis work is done with the BCA, we felt from an operational standpoint that was a reason to stay within the BCA. We have continuously evaluated their turnaround time. Their turnaround time has actually improved over the last 2 years. Now their average turnaround time is 28 days. Now that's an average, and it varies quite a bit depending on what they're actually testing.
Mr. Chair. So do we have an analysis of what the sheriff's time would be in this? And so this is only for part of our DNA analysis?
The BCA actually does all of our DNA analysis. These analysts that we're paying for are actually additional things so that we can improve our turnaround time. And because if we change to a different group, a different crime lab, of which there are several, we would have to change our operational procedures so that we would have things going to multiple labs, and we would like to avoid that from an operational standpoint.
So these are extra
Yes.
into the, okay, all right, I see. So it's just adding on to what we have now?
That's correct.
Okay. And so this 714,000 comes out of our police budget?
That's correct.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move that we approve both items number 1 and 2. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I had mentioned that item number 3, we're going to postpone until the next meeting on August 20th. So we're going to go with item number 4, and that's to authorize an agreement with the Minnesota Vikings Football LLC for law enforcement services in the neighborhoods adjacent to TCF Stadium by the police department during the 2014 Minnesota Vikings football season games. And Assistant City Attorney Bert Osborne is going to talk a little bit about that. Just give us some background, and then we'll take it from there.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is a proposed agreement with the Vikings while they are playing at TCF Stadium for extra neighborhood security in the areas surrounding the stadium. The University Police will still handle primary security at the stadium itself. And I think that we will provide a very small contract, I believe, for canine bomb sniffing capabilities at the stadium. But in the surrounding neighborhoods, we just don't know what effect taking a professional-sized football game and putting it into the TCF venue, if you will. We don't know what effect that might have on the surrounding neighborhoods. And so this is a proposed 3-year agreement to hire our officers at cost to patrol those neighborhoods. And, we don't know what's going to happen at first. Inspector Waite over in, I believe she's in the 2nd precinct, she just doesn't know what to expect. So this is we believe this will provide adequate police services in those neighborhoods to kind of make sure that any unanticipated problems with putting a pro crowd into a college, a smaller venue, and for instance, the Vikings customers, is much more of a kind of a tailgating tradition, and where's that going to take place? We don't know where that's going to take place, so this contract will provide the necessary police services in those neighborhoods around TCF Stadium to make sure that that those neighborhoods aren't unduly burdened by the Vikings playing in TCF Stadium. It's a proposed 3-year contract to cover the entire time they're playing there.
Council members, any questions? Councilmember Gordon?
Well, I don't have any questions, but I would like to move approval of this item. This is something that we've been asking for, and I think that it's going to make a big difference at the time, and I think it also sets a good precedent, or we're actually following up on a precedent, I guess, that we already set. It's that on events like this, the sports team can contribute to help us cover the expenses involved with it for the city. And I'm hopeful that the cap, I think it's $100,000 plus. If there's playoff games, there's more. Will cover what we consider to be our needs and our demands, and I'm comfortable with it at this point anyway, moving forward. Because for these potential 3 years when the Vikings aren't playing downtown, they're going to be playing over in the second ward near the university, and it's close to a lot of neighborhoods, and we're expecting a certain amount of disruption as well as maybe some more business coming in and other activity that might be considered positive.
Okay. I'm going to recognize your motion and go to discussion. Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, my question is for Mr. Osborne. Do we know from maybe last weekend's very large soccer game at that same TCF stadium what kinds of best practices? I assume there would be the same kind of alternate jurisdictions involved in public safety staffing, but I know that last weekend there was a fair amount of Homeland Security there. Would we anticipate to have the same kind of support from other jurisdictional groups in staffing around the stadium?
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Palmisano, I don't know the full answer to that question. I know that that Homeland Security is, I think they're usually a part of security at NFL football games, but I don't know to what extent. As far as the university police and our police, I mean, they interface all the time, every day, and I know that that's a very healthy partnership, and they'll be working together closely. And yeah, sometimes problems don't know if they're on university property or if they're on city property, and things kind of cross those lines. But as far as, I don't know what other agencies, law enforcement agencies, might be assisting in security for that for those games. But I can find that out for you.
One other question, if I may, and I'm not sure this is necessarily for Mr. Osborne, but it's just a comment that I think that this is one place that the Green Line is going to be very well used. Being at a professional event of 35,000 people there last weekend, you saw the capacity of the Green Line maxed out for about an hour after people were exiting the game, and I hope that we're looking at that too as a way to support both the Vikings playing at TCF Bank, but also for the economic area. We saw a lot more people taking public transit there than ever before. So,
Mr. Chair and Councilmember Palmisano, too, if I may, Mr. Chair, I know that there's a significant contingent of the city's traffic control staff that are also going to be part of those games. So,
Any other questions? All right. Recognize Council Member Gordon's motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Our last item today is an item relating to the reporting back onto a committee direction on July 23rd that the police department staff provide monthly reports on police department staffing levels in each precinct and police department response times for priority 1, 2, 3, and 4 calls for each precinct. And Robin McPherson is going to come up and just tell us whether that's been done and how that's been done, and we'll take it from there.
Mr. Chair, council members, I did not plan on going over the report itself today, but that was sent out this morning for your review. If there are any questions or formatting changes, I'd be happy to take them if you want to just send those questions or formatting changes to me. I will tell you one of the requests was for option or for number 4, the 4 priorities to be included. I spoke with Scott Peterson, who is the person who compiles the information within IT, and he has some concerns about that because of the outliers. He is out this week because of a training, and when he returns, he's going to be looking at that to determine if that really gives us good information or not. So that is an open item on this report. But if there are any just general questions, the inspectors do receive this information. They have it. Again, if there's any questions, if you would like me to facilitate those questions, I'd be happy to do so. But just send them to me.
And Ms. McPherson, just a quick question. This is a public document. We'll be posting this on our meeting, I imagine.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, the information that's on here is the same that's in Results Minneapolis, but that's only an annual periodic report, so this will be monthly. I will have it out within the first 2 weeks. It really depends on when they get the information from Scott Peterson.
Okay. President Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. McPherson, I think one thing might be helpful as I was looking through this, and I appreciate this information, and it looks like we still do have a lag in the 4th precinct on response time, so I just want to point that out. It looks like we're doing better than we were last year, though, overall, which is a good thing. But volume of calls, that's, as I was looking through the report, I was thinking, because every week I look at the Code 4 statistics, and there was actually a article in the paper today about shootings across the city, and they interviewed perhaps 4 people, all of whom were assaulted in South Minneapolis. But then when you look at the map, it's clear that North Minneapolis has just a huge percentage of the shots fired, all the shooting calls, all that sort of thing. And so I think it would be helpful to have the context then of, if we've got a wait time of 10 minutes longer for priority 3 in precinct 4 than any other precinct, how many times does that happen? And then the other thing that would be helpful for me to know too is in the priorities, what's the nature of a priority 1 call? I kind of know that, but I mean, it's helpful if we know what a priority 1, 2, 3, and 4 then would be, the kind of calls, so.
Okay, I'd be happy to put like a
Okay,
legend or
great.
definition on
Great.
and put in some call volume
Okay, great.
information.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the information.
Yeah, not a problem.
Any other questions? I'm going to ask the clerk, would this just be receive and file? Okay. Well, then I will move to receive and file this last item, item number 5. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We are done with our agenda, so does anybody have anything? Council President Johnson, I still see your...
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Well, seeing no further business before this committee, we are adjourned. Thank you.